Chosen one, the fact that you are hearing this right now is not coincidence. This is not timing. This is not chance. There has been a deliberate alignment that brought you to this exact moment. You did not arrive here accidentally. You were guided. For the past season, something unseen has been observing your life. Not casually, not from a distance, closely, intentionally. You were being tested. Not tested to see if you would fail, tested to confirm what heaven already suspected about you. There was a pressure placed on your life that felt unusually heavy, a weight that did not match your situation, a struggle that felt excessive compared to what others around you were facing, and you wondered why. Why did simple things feel difficult? Why did answers delay? Why did people change? Why did doors close without explanation? It was not because you were unlucky. It was not because you were being punished. It was not because God turned away. It was because you were selected. Many stood where you stood. Many encountered the same kind of test, but most did not endure it. They walked away quietly. They compromised internally. They allowed disappointment to harden their spirit. They let bitterness rewrite their faith. They decided that trusting God was too costly. But you did not. You questioned, but you did not quit. You struggled, but you did not surrender. You felt exhausted, but something inside you refused to let go. That resistance was not stubbornness. It was faith under pressure. You were not holding on because you had answers. You were holding on because something in your spirit knew that letting go would cost you more than the pain of staying. That is rare. Heaven was watching not how loud you prayed, but how deeply you stayed aligned when nothing made sense. And here is the truth you need to understand. The test was never about your strength. It was about your loyalty. Not loyalty to religion, not loyalty to routine, but loyalty to truth. When truth felt silent, there was a specific trial allowed into your life in the last 90 days. It was measured, it was timed, it was intentional, and it was designed to do one of two things: refine you or remove you. Many were removed. They disconnected slowly. They drifted spiritually. They told themselves they were just tired, but deep down, they stopped believing. But you remained, not because you were perfect, not because you never doubted, but because when doubt knocked, you did not open the door fully. You let it speak, but you did not let it rule. That matters. You need to hear this clearly. You did not survive this season by accident. Something inside you held when everything else weakened. Something in you refused to surrender, even when your mind could not see a reason to continue. That inner resistance is what heaven was searching for, because what is coming next requires someone who can stand without reassurance, someone who can remain faithful without confirmation, someone who can endure silence without abandoning trust. And you proved that you can. Right now, there is a shift happening that you cannot see yet. Something that was delayed is beginning to move. Something that was held back is being released. Not because others were rejected, but because you were approved. There was a blessing prepared for many, but most forfeited it by walking away during the test. You stayed, and because you stayed, what was forfeited by others is now being redirected to you. This is not favoritism. This is qualification. You passed, and the verdict has already been written. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are exactly where you were meant to be after surviving something that was designed to stop you. Your endurance mattered more than your performance. Your perseverance mattered more than your perfection. As it is written, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because after standing the test, they receive what was promised." That promise is not symbolic, it is not poetic, it is not distant, it is active.
And right now, something is aligning in your favor. But here is what you do not yet understand. The test you passed was not singular, it was layered. What looked like one long struggle was actually multiple examinations hidden inside ordinary days. Moments where heaven watched closely. Moments where decisions were recorded. Moments where your responses mattered more
than you realized. You passed some of them without even knowing you were being tested. That is why this moment feels heavy. That is why this message feels direct. That is why something inside you is resonating. Because this is confirmation, and there is more you need to understand. You were not tested because you are ordinary. You were tested because you are dangerous to the enemy. The intensity of your struggle was proportional to the weight of what you carry. Darkness does not invest energy into lives that have no future impact. Opposition does not escalate against people with no assignment. You were targeted because of what you are meant to release. The pressure you endured was proof of your potential. And despite everything, you are still here. That means the strategy failed. Every attempt to exhaust you, distract you, isolate you, or convince you to quit did not succeed. You endured. And endurance is the final proof. But now, before anything else can be revealed, there is something crucial you must understand. Not everyone is tested like this. Not everyone is trusted with this level of pressure. And there is a reason why you were selected. That reason will change how you view everything you have been through. And it begins with understanding the first test. The one that quietly destroys destinies when misunderstood. The test that breaks families. The test that ends relationships. The test that wounds deeper than any other. The betrayal test. And that is where this journey truly begins. Chosen one. The betrayal you experienced was not random. It was not just people being people. It was not simply misunderstanding or poor timing. It was a test, and not a small one. The betrayal test is always allowed before elevation, because it reveals something nothing else can expose. It exposes where your trust truly rests. The people who hurt you were not the source. They were the instrument. Heaven did not cause the pain, but it permitted the process. Because there is something about betrayal that shakes a person at the deepest level. It does not just wound emotions. It questions identity. It distorts perception. It whispers lies like, was I foolish? Did I misjudge everyone? Can I trust anyone again? And when that voice gets loud, many fail the test. They harden their heart. They shut down emotionally. They replace discernment with suspicion. They build walls where wisdom was supposed to grow. But you did something different. You were hurt, yes. You were shaken, yes. But you did not become what wounded you. That is rare. You did not let betrayal turn you into bitterness. You did not let disappointment destroy your compassion. You did not let pain rewrite your character. That restraint was noticed because the betrayal test is not about them, it is about you. Anyone can remain kind when life is gentle, but only the chosen can remain aligned when kindness costs them something. You need to understand this. The people who walked away were never meant to go with you to the next level. They were only assigned to reveal something within you. Some were mirrors, some were distractions, some were lessons disguised as relationships, and some were exits that God allowed so your future would not be contaminated by your past. You keep wondering why they changed, why loyalty dissolved, why support turned into silence. But the truth is simpler than you think. They did not change. The assignment shifted. And when the season changes, roles change too. What hurts is not losing them. What hurts is realizing they were not who you thought they were. But that realization is protection,
because carrying the wrong people into the next season delays destiny. Heaven would rather wound you briefly than destroy you permanently. And yes, the pain felt unfair. You prayed sincerely. You showed up consistently. You gave more than you received. You remained faithful when others withdrew, and still, betrayal found you. That does not mean you failed. It means you qualified. Because betrayal is the gateway test. Every person who carries influence, authority, or spiritual weight must pass through it. David faced it. Joseph faced it. Even Jesus was betrayed by someone close. Not strangers, close ones. Because betrayal only works when proximity exists. And the closer the betrayal, the greater the calling attached to your life. Right now, you are still processing some of it. Some nights it replays in your mind. Some conversations still echo. Some questions still linger. But hear this clearly. What they did does not define you. How you responded does. And your response preserved your calling. You did not retaliate when you could have. You did not expose when you were tempted to. You did not destroy reputations to heal your own wounds. You chose restraint, and restraint is power. The enemy wanted you reactive. He wanted you offended. He wanted you bitter, because offended people cannot carry authority. Authority requires clarity, and clarity requires a clean heart. That is why the attack was personal. The enemy knew that if he could corrupt your heart, he could delay your assignment. But you resisted, not perfectly, not effortlessly, but faithfully. And because you resisted, something shifted in the unseen. There was a moment, quiet, unannounced, where the test concluded. You may not have noticed it, but heaven did. That moment came when you decided internally that you would not allow pain to poison your purpose. When you chose peace over proof. When you stopped trying to explain yourself to people who had already decided to misunderstand you. That decision closed one chapter and opened another. And here is what happens after the betrayal test is passed. Separation, not punishment. Alignment. God begins to distance you from environments that can no longer hold who you are becoming. That is why you feel different lately. More selective, less available, more aware. You are not becoming cold, you are becoming clear. Your tolerance for confusion has decreased. Your patience for disrespect has ended. Your desire to over-explain has faded. That is maturity, and maturity attracts responsibility. But there is another layer to this test you must understand. Betrayal also tests whether you will try to replace people instead of releasing them. Many fail here. They rush to fill voids. They chase connections to numb the loss. They attach too quickly because silence feels uncomfortable. But you did not do that either. You allowed the empty space to exist. That space is sacred because God fills what we do not try to replace prematurely. Right now, you are in an in-between phase. Not who you were, not yet fully who you are becoming. And this phase feels lonely. But loneliness is not abandonment, it is recalibration. Heaven is resetting your discernment, teaching you the difference between familiarity and assignment, between attachment and alignment, between connection and covenant. And this lesson will save you years of pain in the future, because where you are going requires discernment sharper than emotion. You will soon carry influence that exposes intentions. You will soon speak words that shift atmospheres. You will soon stand in positions where trust is expensive. And if betrayal had not refined you, power would have destroyed you. So the wound became wisdom, and wisdom is now becoming authority. But do not mistake this calm for completion. There is still another test ahead, one that does not come through people, one that comes through silence, the waiting test. And this test is where many who passed betrayal still fall. Because waiting feels like delay,
and delay feels like denial. But what you are about to understand will change how you see time itself and prepare you for what is about to be released. That is where we go next. But loneliness is not abandonment. It is recalibration. Heaven is resetting your discernment, teaching you the difference between familiarity and assignment, between attachment and alignment, between connection and covenant. And this lesson will save you years of pain in the future, because where you are going requires discernment sharper than emotion. You will soon carry influence that exposes intentions. You will soon speak words that shift atmospheres. You will soon stand in positions where trust is expensive. And if betrayal had not refined you, power would have destroyed you. So the wound became wisdom, and wisdom is now becoming authority. But do not mistake this calm for completion. There is still another test ahead. One that does not come through people, one that comes through silence, the waiting test. And this test is where many who passed betrayal still fall. Because waiting feels like delay, and delay feels like denial. But what you are about to understand will change how you see time itself and prepare you for what is about to be released. That is where we go next. Chosen one. The waiting season is the most misunderstood test of all, because it does not feel like a test. It feels like being forgotten. Nothing visibly wrong is happening, yet nothing is moving forward. Doors are not slamming shut, but they are not opening either. Prayers are not rejected, but answers feel delayed, and that silence begins to speak. It whispers questions that are difficult to ignore. Did I miss something? Was I too late? Did I misunderstand the promise? Why is nothing happening if I passed the last test? This is where many begin to unravel, not because they are weak, but because waiting exposes what activity can hide. Waiting reveals motive. Waiting exposes dependency. Waiting shows whether faith is rooted in God or in outcomes. And this test is always longer than expected, because it is not designed to waste time. It is designed to recalibrate you. There is a specific reason heaven allows delay after betrayal. If elevation came immediately, you would attribute progress to relief. If breakthrough came instantly, you would credit momentum. But waiting removes those illusions. Waiting strips you of explanations. And when nothing is happening externally, everything internally is being refined. During this season, God watches what you do without urgency. Do you rush ahead? Do you force connections? Do you compromise standards to feel movement again? Or do you stay anchored? You stayed. Even when impatience knocked, you did not open the door fully. Even when discouragement lingered, you did not let it settle permanently. That matters more than you realize, because waiting tests whether you can be trusted with timing. And timing is everything. You see, destiny released too early becomes a burden instead of a blessing. What you are carrying cannot be rushed. There are responsibilities attached to your calling that require stability, not excitement. Discernment, not impulse. Depth, not speed. And waiting builds those things quietly. You felt the pressure to move. You felt the urge to do something just to feel productive. You felt the temptation to lower expectations so disappointment would hurt less. But something inside you resisted again. That resistance is not fear, it is wisdom being formed. You need to hear this clearly. God is not slow, He is precise. And precision often feels like delay to those who do not understand the weight of what is coming. There were moments during this waiting season where you almost settled, almost accepted less, almost convinced yourself that maybe this was all there was. That thought did not come from you, it came from the enemy. Because if he cannot stop you with pain, he will try to exhaust you with time. He will try to make waiting feel pointless. He will try to make patience feel foolish. He will try to convince you that obedience is costing you opportunities. But obedience is actually preserving you. What you are waiting for is not late, it is loading. Behind the scenes, things are being arranged that require coordination you cannot see. People are being repositioned, circumstances are being aligned, information is being revealed at the right moment. If it happened sooner, it would collapse under its own weight. And here's the part most do not understand. Waiting is not passive, it is active trust. It is choosing alignment over acceleration. It is believing without evidence, standing without validation, remaining faithful without applause. And that kind of faith is expensive, but it is also powerful. Because when breakthrough comes after waiting, it is not fragile, it lasts. During this season, something else was happening quietly. Your identity was being separated from outcomes. Before, you were faithful because you believed something would happen. Now, you are faithful because faith is who you are. That shift is everything. Because God does not entrust influence to people who need constant reassurance. He entrusts it to those who can stand steady when nothing confirms their obedience. That is why the waiting test is the gateway to authority. And you passed more of it than you think. Even on days when you felt frustrated, even when you questioned quietly, even when you felt tired of hoping, you did not abandon alignment. And alignment is what moves heaven. Now, there's another subtle layer to the waiting test: isolation. Not physical isolation, internal isolation. The feeling that few people truly understand what you are carrying. The sense that conversations feel shallow, that old interests no longer satisfy, that small talk drains you. That is not arrogance, it is transition. You are outgrowing old frequencies. And growth often feels like loneliness before it feels like expansion. You were not meant to explain this season to everyone. Some would misunderstand it. Some would project their own impatience onto you. So God allowed distance, not to punish you, but to protect you, because voices matter in waiting seasons. The wrong voices accelerate impatience. The right silence builds strength. And you learned how to be still, not inactive, still. That is rare. Stillness requires confidence in direction, even when movement is paused. And because you learned stillness, you are now ready for motion. But understand this: movement will not come as chaos. It will come as clarity. One instruction, one opening, one moment where everything shifts. And when it happens, it will feel sudden to others, but you will know it was prepared. There is a reason why things have been quiet lately. Silence always precedes revelation, and revelation always precedes responsibility. You are about to be trusted with something that requires maturity, not enthusiasm. Something that requires discretion, not noise. Something that will test your obedience at a higher level. But before that is released, there is one final thing you must understand. Waiting does not mean you were idle. You were being fortified, strengthened internally, rooted deeply, anchored firmly. So when the winds change, you will not be shaken, because storms do not break rooted trees. They reveal which ones were shallow, and you are not shallow. You endured betrayal without bitterness. You endured waiting without compromise. That combination is rare, and because it is rare, it is valuable. Now, everything you endured is about to make sense, but what comes next will require something from you. Not patience, not endurance, but obedience without hesitation. And that is the final confirmation. That is where this journey leads. Chosen one, what comes after waiting is not noise, it is instruction. This is where many misunderstand the shift. They expect chaos, they expect sudden applause, they expect everything to change externally overnight. But God moves differently. He speaks first, not loudly, not dramatically, but clearly. And the clarity you are beginning to feel right now is not imagination, it is activation. Because once waiting has done its work, hesitation becomes disobedience. And you are stepping into a season where delayed obedience will cost more than immediate action. You are no longer in preparation, you are in positioning. Everything you endured was not to teach you how to survive, it was to prepare you to lead. Not lead crowds first, lead yourself, because authority begins internally before it is ever visible externally. Right now, something is being restored that you did not even realize you lost. Confidence, not arrogance, not self-reliance, but quiet certainty, the kind that does not need approval, the kind that does not argue, the kind that moves without explaining itself. That confidence was stripped during betrayal, refined during waiting, and now it is returning purified. You are not the same person who entered this season. You see differently. You discern faster. You react slower. That is growth. And growth attracts assignment. There is an instruction coming that will not make sense to everyone around you. Some will call it risky. Some will call it unnecessary. Some will call it premature. But they are not the ones who endured what you endured. They did not pay the price you paid. And price determines authority. You will recognize this instruction because it will carry peace, not pressure. Fear rushes. God leads, and when He leads, there is a calm certainty, even when the path is unfamiliar. Do not ignore that calm. It is confirmation. This next step will require obedience without consensus. You will not receive universal support. You will not receive immediate validation, but you will receive alignment. And alignment is greater than approval, because when God aligns a step, provision follows obedience, not the other way around. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to trust what has already been proven in you.
You have already endured worse than what lies ahead. That is why fear no longer fits you the way it used to. Notice that. The things that once intimidated you no longer have the same grip. That is not coincidence. That is authority forming. Now hear this carefully. What is about to be released through you is not for everyone, and that is okay. Your calling is specific. Your assignment is targeted. Your influence will be precise. You are not meant to convince everyone. You are meant to reach the right ones. And the right ones will recognize your voice because it will carry weight. Not because you are loud, but because you are aligned. The season of proving is over. You no longer need to explain your process. You no longer need to justify your pace. You no longer need to apologize for becoming selective. Stewardship requires boundaries, and boundaries protect what God entrusts. Now, let me speak this clearly over you. What was delayed is not canceled. What was denied was actually deferred. What you thought you lost was preserved, and what is coming will arrive whole, not fragmented. You will not receive it exhausted. You will not receive it confused. You will not receive it unprepared. You will receive it steady. There is a favor resting on you now that you did not have before. Not visible to everyone, but undeniable in effect. Doors will begin to open without struggle. Conversations will shift unexpectedly. Opportunities will appear without chasing. Do not rush ahead of them. Let alignment do the work. Your responsibility in this season is simple, but not easy. Stay obedient. Stay clean in motive. Stay anchored. And when instruction comes, move. Do not delay out of fear. Do not hesitate out of comfort. Do not overanalyze what requires faith. You have already been prepared for this. You are not stepping into unknown territory. You are stepping into fulfilled preparation. Now receive this blessing. May clarity replace confusion. May courage rise where fear once whispered. May discernment guard your decisions. May peace confirm your steps. May every residue of betrayal be removed from your spirit. May every weight from waiting be lifted. May every word spoken against you lose its power. May your hands be steady. May your heart remain soft. May your obedience remain sharp.
What God has begun in you will not be interrupted. You will finish what others abandoned. You will carry what others dropped. You will steward what others mishandled. And you will do it without losing yourself, because you were refined, not rushed, tested, not broken, delayed, not denied. Chosen one, this is your confirmation. You did not endure for nothing. You did not wait in vain. You were not forgotten. You were being prepared for release, and now the season has shifted. If this message resonated with your spirit, do not ignore it. Do not scroll past confirmation. Engage with it. Stay connected, because what comes next will require continued alignment, and this is only the beginning.